Life often feels like a journey through shifting landscapes. At times, the skies are clear and the road stretches ahead with promise. At other times, we find ourselves lost in barren fields or walking through the shadows of a long, cold winter. But embedded within the fabric of nature and time is a profound truth. No season lasts forever. The metaphor of cosmic springtime is not just poetic, it is deeply symbolic of the transformation available to every human being, a season of new beginnings that transcends circumstances and resonates with something much deeper than mere change. To understand the idea of cosmic springtime, we must first appreciate what spring signifies. Spring is the season when life returns. After months of stillness and seeming death, the earth awakens. Dormant seeds push through the soil, trees begin to bud, rivers flow more freely, and the air carries a sense of renewal. This isn't just a natural phenomenon, it's also a blueprint for the human spirit. The same way the earth sheds its winter and moves into growth, we too are designed to renew, to emerge, to begin again. But the springtime we're speaking of goes beyond weather or calendar months. It is cosmic. It is divine. It comes from a source outside of time, yet it enters our lives in powerful and tangible ways. Cosmic springtime is that moment when something inside us begins to stir after a long silence. It may not look like a breakthrough at first. It might start as a question, a restlessness, a flicker of hope, or even a deep yearning we can't quite name. But it marks the beginning of a shift. It is the sacred announcement that your time of renewal has come. Even if everything outside of you looks unchanged, even if the ground seems hard and frozen, something underneath is starting to move, and this is where faith and awareness must step in, because cosmic springtime is not always obvious. It is spiritual before it becomes visible. Many people miss their spring because they expect it to arrive with fanfare. They're waiting for the perfect job offer, the healing moment, the open door, or a loud confirmation that change has come. But in truth, cosmic springtime often begins quietly. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And if we are too busy looking for the dramatic, we miss the divine. We must learn to tune our inner ear to the subtle voice of awakening. We must become sensitive to the signs of growth within our own soul. This awakening is not accidental. It is part of a grander rhythm. The universe itself operates on cycles, day and night, seed time and harvest, tides and seasons. When we align our lives with these patterns, we experience greater peace and purpose. But when we resist them, when we try to force spring in the middle of winter, or refuse to grow when the season is ripe, we create unnecessary frustration and pain. Cosmic springtime invites us to trust the timing of our lives, to believe that we are not forgotten, and that renewal is not only possible, but inevitable if we are willing to respond. Responding to spring means more than just feeling inspired. It means preparing the soil of your life. Just as a farmer doesn't wait until spring arrives to prepare the field, so must we begin clearing out what no longer serves us before growth can truly happen. This could mean letting go of toxic patterns, healing from emotional wounds, forgiving what has been unforgivable, or simply choosing to believe again. It's about making room for what is trying to bloom. If your life is cluttered with bitterness, distractions, and fear, even the most beautiful opportunities will have no place to land. We must also understand that cosmic springtime does not erase the past, it redeems it. The cold winters you've endured, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the seasons of waiting and wondering, they are not wasted. In fact, they are often the very soil in which your new life begins to grow. The seed that sprouts in spring has been hidden in darkness for a long time, but the darkness did not destroy it, it prepared it, In the same way, your past has been preparing you for something greater than you imagined. The pain you thought would define you may actually refine you. The delay you thought was a denial may actually be divine timing at work. Too often, we underestimate what's happening below the surface. We think nothing is changing because we can't see it. But just as a tree's roots grow long before its branches bloom, so does our inner life prepare us for visible transformation. Cosmic Springtime asks us to trust the process, to believe in the unseen, and to act in faith even before we feel ready. That first step toward change, that brave decision to begin again, is itself an act of planting. And every seed planted in faith contains within it the power of a harvest. There is also a cosmic dimension to springtime because it's not just about personal growth. It's about alignment with a higher plan. This isn't just a season you create. It's one that is appointed. There is a timing to your life that is far beyond your control, but fully within your design. This means your transformation is not only personal, it is purposeful. It fits into something much bigger. You are part of a greater narrative. The things you are called to do, the people you are meant to reach, the legacy you are meant to leave, these things flourish most powerfully when you live in sync with the season you're in. So, how do you unlock this springtime? How do you step into it when it feels distant or impossible? You start by believing it's real. You choose to wake up, not just physically, but spiritually. You cultivate gratitude for what is, even as you hope for what will be. You take small steps of courage. You trust that your life is not a random collection of moments, but a carefully woven tapestry, with springtime stitched into its very core. You reject the lie that says you are stuck, finished, too late, or too broken. Instead, you declare that you are being renewed, that every breath is a new chance, that every sunrise is a new page. You look at the frozen parts of your life and speak to them with hope, believing that warmth will come. You surround yourself with voices that encourage growth, not those that pull you back into winter. You dare to envision a life that is full and beautiful, not because everything is perfect, but because you have chosen to align with a greater rhythm of life. This cosmic springtime does not guarantee ease, but it guarantees potential. It may still require work, but now that work is fruitful. It may still include challenges, but now those challenges have context and purpose. And most importantly, it offers you the chance to begin again, not as a restart, but as a resurrection. No matter what you've been through, no matter how long your winter has lasted, you are not beyond revival. The soil of your soul is not too dry. The dreams you buried are not beyond recovery. The best parts of your story have not yet been written. Spring is coming, or perhaps it has already begun. And if you listen closely, you will hear the quiet voice saying, "Now is the time. Step into the new. Let your life bloom." Because the cosmic springtime isn't just an idea, it is your invitation. Every life moves through seasons. These seasons are not simply marked by the calendar or the weather, but by the emotional, spiritual, and psychological climates that shape our journeys. Just as the natural world turns from winter to spring, summer to fall, so does the soul. Yet many people live unaware of these inner seasons, struggling against them, misinterpreting their meaning, or missing the power they hold. Understanding the patterns of seasons in life is essential for growth, clarity, and lasting transformation. There are times when everything feels alive, energy flows effortlessly, ideas are abundant, relationships bloom, doors open. This is the season we might call summer, a time of flourishing and expansion. Then there are seasons when everything begins to change. What once worked no longer does. We find ourselves releasing, shedding, preparing for something new. This resembles autumn, when the leaves fall and nature lets go, not out of failure, but as preparation. Then there are seasons of stillness, what we might call winter. These are often misunderstood and feared. In winter, progress slows or seems to halt. Dreams seem dormant. Isolation may set in. But these times are not a curse. They are part of a larger pattern of growth. And just as in nature, winter is often a time of preparation and internal strengthening. Without winter, there is no spring. Recognizing which season you're in is the first step toward wisdom. When we mislabel a season, we tend to respond in the wrong way. For example, if you are in a winter season but treat it like summer, you'll grow frustrated by the lack of results. You'll force what isn't ready. You may even damage what is supposed to develop slowly and quietly. On the other hand, if you are in a season of harvest but behave as if it's still winter, you may hesitate to act, missing opportunities designed for you. Just like a farmer does not plant in the coldest months, we too must learn the right timing for our choices. We must develop a sensitivity to life's seasons, not just in what we do, but in how we see ourselves and those around us. Seasons do not only apply to external events, they apply to the state of our hearts. You might be in a flourishing career season, yet internally feel like you're in winter. You may appear successful to others, but deep down be in a quiet battle with grief, doubt, or fatigue. Acknowledging that your external and internal seasons may not always align is a key to self-compassion. It allows you to be honest with your soul, rather than pressuring yourself to keep up appearances or chase growth that isn't authentic. It also prevents burnout. When you understand that winter is not failure but part of a sacred rhythm, you can learn to rest without guilt, reflect without shame, and wait without fear. Some seasons are given, others are chosen. There are moments when life thrusts a season upon us, an unexpected loss, a new opportunity, a dramatic change. But there are also seasons we must step into with intention. Sometimes you must choose to enter a season of discipline, of creativity, of learning, of healing. You cannot always control the weather of life, but you can choose how to dress for it. You can decide to cooperate with the season rather than resist it. Resistance only prolongs the process. Acceptance, however, allows for deeper transformation. Part of recognizing life's seasons is realizing that nothing is wasted. Nature teaches us this. Even in the stillness of winter, the earth is doing invisible work, storing nutrients, protecting roots, preparing seeds. So too in your life, even when you feel unproductive, unseen, or unclear, something sacred is still at work beneath the surface. What you consider a delay may actually be divine preparation. What feels like failure may be pruning. Trusting this process takes faith, but it also takes vision. Vision to look beyond the immediate and see with spiritual eyes what is yet to come. It's important to realize that everyone moves through different seasons at different times. Comparing your winter to someone else's summer is a recipe for discouragement. You are not behind just because someone else is blooming. Their season is not your timeline. In the same way, your growth may seem slow compared to others, but your roots may be going deeper. Your winter might be producing strength, clarity, or resilience that cannot be measured outwardly. Just because something isn't visible doesn't mean it isn't valuable. Recognizing the season also allows us to interact with others with greater empathy. When you realize someone is in a season of struggle, you become more patient. When you see someone in a season of breakthrough, you can celebrate without envy. Life becomes less of a competition and more of a shared journey. We begin to honor each other's process, knowing that each season has its own beauty and purpose. One of the greatest shifts that happens when we understand life's seasons is the freedom from urgency. In a culture that worships constant productivity and fast results, it is liberating to know that seasons unfold at their own pace. Growth that is rushed often lacks depth, but growth that honors timing becomes lasting. You do not need to force your life into fruitfulness before its time. You can breathe. You can rest in the knowledge that your season will come, and when it does, it will be right. This understanding also leads to better decision making. Timing is everything. The right decision at the wrong time can lead to frustration, but a decision aligned with the season bears fruit naturally. Knowing when to act, when to wait, when to sow, and when to reap. This is the art of living wisely. Sometimes you are called to act boldly. Other times the bravest thing you can do is be still. Discernment grows when we stop rushing and start listening. There's a rhythm to everything: relationships, careers, creativity, healing. Some seasons call for building, others for tearing down, some for silence, others for speech. The ancient wisdom literature says there is a time for every purpose under heaven. When we begin to trust that, we move with grace rather than anxiety. We stop measuring success solely by what we produce and begin to value who we are becoming. Every season serves a role. Spring brings new beginnings. Summer represents maturity and abundance. Autumn teaches us the beauty of letting go. Winter reminds us of the necessity of rest and the promise of rebirth. When you honor each season, you gain its gifts. If you rush past spring, you may miss new possibilities. If you ignore autumn, you may cling to things you should have released. If you resist winter, you may exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth. And if you fail to enjoy summer, you may miss the joy of reaping what you've worked so hard for. But the most powerful truth is this: no matter what season you are in, it is not permanent. Seasons change, life moves. You will not be in this space forever. If you're in a hard season now, know that it is not your final chapter. Spring is not a myth. It is a promise woven into the fabric of life. And if you're in a fruitful season, use it wisely. Store what you gain. Share what you've learned. Prepare for what's next. The pattern of seasons teaches us patience. It teaches us hope. It reminds us that endings are not always endings, but beginnings in disguise. It encourages us to live deeply, intentionally, and in rhythm with something greater than ourselves. When you recognize the season you're in and align yourself with its purpose, life becomes less of a struggle and more of a sacred unfolding. The key is to stop resisting and start responding. Stop forcing and start flowing. Let life teach you, stretch you, and guide you through each chapter. Trust the process and trust the one who authored the seasons. Because in every season there is meaning, in every phase there is potential, and in every pattern there is a promise. In the journey of life, it's easy to be swept away by the demands of the outer world, expectations, deadlines, social norms, and external measures of success. Yet the most powerful transformations do not begin outside of us. They begin within. Inner alignment is the unseen foundation of a fulfilled life. It is the process of bringing your thoughts, actions, desires, and identity into agreement with your deepest values and highest calling. Without this internal congruence, even success can feel hollow. True fulfillment arises not from simply achieving goals, but from becoming the person you were meant to be while pursuing them. There is a difference between motion and direction. Many people live busy lives full of motion, but lack true direction. They are constantly doing, striving, performing, but they feel disconnected, fragmented, even lost. This disconnect is often a sign of misalignment. Like a wheel that is slightly off balance, they move forward but not smoothly. Something within them resists. That resistance is not always a sign of failure. Sometimes it is the soul signaling that something essential is out of order. It might be that they are chasing goals that do not match their true identity, or that they are saying yes to things that violate their integrity, or perhaps they are ignoring the quiet voice within that keeps reminding them of a calling they have pushed aside for fear, comfort, or convenience. Inner alignment requires honesty. It calls you to ask yourself, what do I truly believe? What matters most to me? What am I willing to stand for, even if it costs me something? These are not questions of ambition. They are questions of essence. When you answer them honestly, you begin to strip away the layers of performance and pretense. You stop living for approval and start living from purpose. And it is in this place of clarity that direction emerges, not from the outside world telling you who to be, but from the inside out. Purpose is not something you invent. It is something you uncover. It is already within you, like a seed that needs the right conditions to grow. Every person is born with a unique combination of experiences, talents, passions, and burdens. When these elements align, they form a path, a sense of calling that transcends mere career or achievement. Purpose gives meaning to effort. It turns obstacles into opportunities for growth. It transforms pain into wisdom and service. But purpose cannot fully unfold unless it is rooted in alignment. There is a power that comes from alignment. When your thoughts, choices, and values all point in the same direction, your life gains clarity and momentum. Decisions become easier because they are filtered through a clear sense of who you are and what you are here for. You no longer chase every opportunity or fear every setback. You are grounded. You are focused. You move with intention. This is not about perfection, but about integrity, living in such a way that your inner life and outer actions agree. Misalignment, on the other hand, creates inner conflict. You may appear confident on the surface, but feel unsettled beneath it. You may experience chronic stress, fatigue, or even burnout, not because you are doing too much, but because you are doing the wrong things or doing the right things for the wrong reasons. Your energy leaks out through compromise, pretense, or disconnection. You may be successful by the world's standards, but miserable in your own heart. This is why inner alignment is not optional. It is essential for sustainable well-being and long-term purpose. The path to alignment often begins with stillness. In a world that glorifies hustle and noise, taking time to pause and reflect can feel counterintuitive. But silence is not empty. It is full of answers. When you quiet the external demands and turn inward, you begin to hear the voice of truth that has been there all along. This voice may not always tell you what you want to hear, but it will always guide you toward wholeness. It may tell you to slow down, to change direction, to forgive, to start something new, or to walk away from something toxic. These inner promptings are sacred. They are the compass of your soul, but alignment is not just about reflection. It also requires action. Once you recognize what is true for you, you must begin to live it out. This may mean setting boundaries, shifting priorities, or redefining success. It may mean pursuing a passion that doesn't make sense on paper, but feels undeniably right. It may mean embracing discomfort for the sake of integrity. The journey is rarely easy, but it is always worth it, because every step you take in alignment with your purpose adds strength to your identity, clarity to your vision, and peace to your path. It is important to understand that alignment is not static. It is not something you find once and keep forever. Life evolves, and so do you. What was aligned for you 5 years ago may no longer reflect your current truth. That doesn't mean you were wrong before. It simply means growth has occurred. Part of staying aligned is being willing to reevaluate and adjust. Just as a musician must regularly tune their instrument, so must we tune our lives to remain in harmony with our evolving purpose. When alignment is present, even challenges take on new meaning. You begin to see obstacles not as interruptions, but as invitations to deepen your character and refine your focus. You recognize that resistance can clarify what matters most. You understand that failure is not the opposite of purpose, but part of the path toward it. And you gain the courage to keep going, not because the road is easy, but because it is right. One of the greatest myths in our culture is that purpose must be grand or glamorous. But the truth is, purpose is often found in the ordinary. It's in the quiet acts of love, the honest conversations, the consistent choices to do the right thing even when no one is watching. It's in the courage to be authentic, to serve others, to use your gifts in a way that adds value to the world. When you live in alignment with these values, your life begins to radiate a kind of quiet strength. People may not always understand your choices, but they will feel your integrity, and you will feel at peace with yourself. Purpose does not eliminate uncertainty. It does not guarantee comfort or predictability, but it gives you a reason to endure, to rise, to try again. It connects your present efforts to a future vision. It transforms everyday actions into sacred steps, and most importantly, it allows you to live without regret, not because you have avoided all mistakes, but because you have lived true to yourself. Inner alignment and purpose are not luxuries reserved for the few. They are available to everyone who is willing to seek them. It does not matter where you come from, what you've done, or how lost you may feel. At any moment, you can begin again. You can choose to listen inwardly. You can realign your life. You can take the first step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. Your life begins to flow, not without effort, but with greater ease. You stop striving to prove yourself and start living to express yourself. You discover joy not in perfection, but in progress. And you begin to unlock your own season of spring, not just externally, but from the inside out. Because the moment your heart, your actions, and your purpose come into alignment, you don't just change your life, you begin to change the world around you. Every transformation in life begins with a release. Before we can step into the new, we must be willing to let go of the old. This truth is found in nature, in the shedding of leaves before the coming of spring, in the molting of a snake's skin, in the breaking of a seed's shell before it can sprout. It is also a fundamental truth of the human experience. Personal growth, spiritual awakening, emotional healing, and purposeful living all require us to release what no longer serves us. Yet letting go is often the most difficult part of change. We cling to the familiar even when it is broken, outdated, or even harmful, because familiarity feels safe even if it is limiting. Letting go is not weakness. In fact, it is a courageous act of trust. It is trusting that the emptiness left by what you release will be filled with something better, more aligned, more whole. It is believing that life does not end with endings, but begins again. But to reach that new beginning, we must confront the old structures, thoughts, relationships, identities, and stories we've been holding on to. And that takes deep inner work, honesty, and faith. Shedding the old can take many forms. It might mean releasing old habits that have kept you stuck. Procrastination, perfectionism, comparison, or self-sabotage. It might mean letting go of limiting beliefs, the quiet lies that whisper you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy of love and success. It might mean distancing yourself from relationships that drain your energy or suppress your potential. Or it might involve releasing past regrets, guilt, or bitterness that have taken root in your heart. These are not surface-level changes. They are deep inner shifts that affect every part of your life. To embrace the new, you must make space for it. Just as a room cannot be filled with new furniture unless the old is removed, your life cannot hold new possibilities if it is cluttered with outdated versions of yourself. So many people ask for change, but are unwilling to let go of what prevents it. They want the new season without releasing the attachments of the old one, but growth requires surrender. Sometimes you must say goodbye to who you were to become who you were meant to be. That means mourning the old, honoring its role in your journey, and then moving forward with intention. One of the biggest reasons people resist shedding the old is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of loss, fear of failure. The old, even if painful, is predictable. The new, though promising, is uncertain. But staying in the past out of fear only leads to stagnation. It is better to risk transformation than to guarantee limitation. The process may feel uncomfortable, even painful, because shedding layers of identity, behavior, or attachment often exposes our vulnerability. But it is in this vulnerability that we grow. Just as a caterpillar must enter the chrysalis to become a butterfly, we too must enter seasons of inward transformation, seasons where we allow old patterns to die so something greater can emerge. Another common barrier to releasing the old is nostalgia. We often romanticize the past, remembering it more fondly than it was, holding on to memories and attachments that no longer align with our present truth. There's nothing wrong with remembering the past, but when memory becomes a cage, it stops us from stepping forward. The past should be a teacher, not a prison. Let it inform you, but don't let it define you. Your best days are not behind you if you're willing to grow. Every new level of purpose and possibility requires a willingness to walk away from what is no longer true to who you are becoming. Releasing the old also means forgiving yourself and others. Holding on to unforgiveness is like carrying dead weight. It slows you down, keeps your hands full of pain, and your heart closed off to healing. Forgiveness is not saying that what happened was right. It is saying that you are no longer willing to let what happened control your future. Forgiveness frees your spirit to rise again, to love again, to dream again. If you truly want to embrace the new, you must release the burdens of blame and the heaviness of unresolved hurt. The process of shedding is not always visible to others. Often it is internal, a shift in mindset, a new conviction, a quiet decision to stop pretending. There may be no dramatic announcement, only a quiet resolve to live differently. But that inner shift is the beginning of outer transformation, and while others may not immediately understand the changes you're making, your soul will know. You'll begin to feel lighter, more honest, more alive. And in time, the fruit of your decision will speak for itself. Letting go is also about releasing control. So much of our anxiety comes from trying to force outcomes or hold on to what we think should happen. But life is dynamic, seasons change, people evolve, doors close so better ones can open. Control is often an illusion, and the more tightly we cling, the more pain we create. Learning to trust the process, to release outcomes, and to flow with life rather than fight against it brings peace. It allows you to be present, to experience the richness of the now rather than being trapped in what was or obsessed with what might be. As you shed the old, you begin to notice subtle changes. Your desires shift. What once satisfied you no longer does. Your conversations deepen. Your vision clears. You begin to attract people and opportunities that align with your higher self. This is not magic. It is the natural result of alignment and openness. When you let go of what weighs you down, you rise. When you release what is false, what is true has room to emerge, and the new that enters your life is not random. It is often the very thing you've been longing for, hidden behind layers you were once afraid to remove. Letting go is not a one-time event, it is a lifestyle of continual release. As you grow, you will keep outgrowing old versions of yourself. This is not failure, it is evolution. What served you in one season may become a hindrance in the next. This is the beauty of life's rhythm, constant renewal, constant unfolding. The more willing you are to release, the more you will receive. Each layer you shed reveals something deeper, more authentic, and more empowered within you. There is deep wisdom in the natural world that applies to our inner life. Trees do not mourn their fallen leaves. They let them go, knowing that new ones will come. Rivers do not hold on to the water that flows through them. They release it to make space for more. In the same way, your soul is designed to evolve, not to stay fixed in old patterns. When you begin to live with open hands and an open heart, you discover the freedom and joy of a life in motion, a life not clinging to the past, but welcoming the future. Shedding the old is ultimately an act of self-respect. It says, I am worthy of something greater. I will no longer shrink to fit old molds. I will no longer betray my truth to maintain someone else's comfort. I will no longer pretend to be who I was when who I am becoming is calling me forward. It is an affirmation of dignity and hope, and it is the gateway to the next season of your life. The cosmic springtime, the season of new beginnings, divine appointments, and radiant breakthroughs, has not come by chance. It is prepared for by the quiet, courageous work of release. When you shed the old, you till the soil of your life. You make it fertile, you make it ready, and in that readiness the seeds of new purpose can finally take root. So whatever it is you've been holding on to fear, shame, old dreams, expired identities, ask yourself if it's serving your future. If not, dare to lay it down, honor what it was, but do not let it steal what could be. Because when you release the old, you don't lose yourself. You find the truest version of yourself waiting on the other side. And that is when spring begins, not just in the world around you, but in the very core of your being. A fresh wind, a deeper hope, a new beginning. Renewal is not a one-time experience or a seasonal phenomenon reserved only for rare mountain-top moments in life. It is a daily invitation. Just as the sun rises every morning to bathe the earth in new light, so too are we given the chance each day to begin again. Living in the light of renewal daily means awakening to the truth that no matter where you've been, what you've done, or what you've faced, today is a fresh canvas. Yesterday's setbacks do not have to define today's possibilities. The past may inform us, but it should not imprison us. With each sunrise, we are handed the tools of choice, perspective, and grace to walk forward as though life has just begun, because in many ways it has. The idea of daily renewal calls us to be intentional with the way we live our lives. It is easy to fall into routine, to let days blur into each other, driven by autopilot habits and unconscious patterns. But a renewed life is not an automatic life. It is a conscious life. It requires us to pause and reflect, not only on what we are doing, but on who we are becoming. When you choose to live in renewal, you begin each day asking, who do I want to be today? What energy do I want to bring into the world? What thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs do I need to let go of in order to step fully into this day with hope and purpose? This practice is deeply transformative, not because the external circumstances always change, but because your inner environment begins to shift. A renewed mind sees possibilities where others see problems. A renewed heart forgives quickly and loves freely. A renewed spirit is resilient, hopeful, and expectant. You may still face challenges, but you face them from a place of strength, rather than survival. You respond rather than react. You build rather than break. And you begin to notice the subtle beauty woven into the fabric of daily life, the kindness of a stranger, the comfort of quiet moments, the miracle of breath and presence. Living in daily renewal also means releasing the weight of perfection. So often people wait to feel ready before they act or worthy, before they receive or complete, before they enjoy life. But the truth is, renewal is not about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about showing up as you are and trusting that grace will meet you there. It's about letting each moment refine you, teach you, and open you. Even on the days when you stumble or struggle, renewal reminds you that failure is not final and that your worth is not determined by your performance. Every morning you are loved, chosen, and capable of beginning again. This kind of daily living requires mindfulness. You cannot renew what you are unaware of. Taking time to center yourself, whether through prayer, meditation, journaling, or quiet reflection, helps you identify what needs to be released and what needs to be embraced. You may notice that you are carrying resentment from the day before or anxiety about the day ahead. In those moments, you are given the opportunity to reset. Like clearing away the fog from a window, you return to clarity, to purpose, to presence. You learn that your inner world is not something that happens to you. It is something you are empowered to shape. Daily renewal also invites us to develop rhythms that nourish the soul. These rhythms are not about rigid routines, but about practices that align you with your highest self. This might mean setting aside time in the morning to read or reflect. It might mean stepping outside for fresh air, taking breaks to breathe deeply, practicing gratitude throughout the day, or ending the night by releasing the burdens of the day through stillness or prayer. These small, consistent acts are powerful because they anchor you. They remind you that no matter what the day brings, you are rooted in something deeper than circumstances. You are grounded in intention. One of the most important aspects of living in renewal is how we view time. Instead of seeing time as an enemy, something that is running out, renewal teaches us to see time as a gift. Each day is not something to get through, but a sacred opportunity to create, to love, to serve, to grow. When you begin to see time as holy, you stop rushing through life and start experiencing it. You become more present in your relationships, more attentive to your thoughts, more appreciative of simple joys. Time becomes less about pressure and more about presence. And in this renewed perspective, even the smallest moments become meaningful. A conversation with a friend becomes a moment of connection. A task at work becomes an opportunity to bring excellence. A quiet walk becomes a form of meditation. When you live in renewal, you stop waiting for life to happen and start realizing that it's happening now in every moment, in every breath, in every heartbeat. The question is not whether the day will matter, but how you will meet it. Renewal also has a contagious quality. When you live with a spirit that is consistently refreshed, people notice. Your energy shifts rooms. Your hope becomes an encouragement to others. You become someone who doesn't just survive life, but revives it, within yourself and in the hearts of those around you. And this doesn't require perfection or performance. It simply requires authenticity. People are drawn to those who are real, grounded, and intentional. Living in the light of renewal makes you that kind of person. However, living this way doesn't mean you'll never face setbacks. There will still be disappointments, delays, and detours, but what changes is how you meet them. Instead of spiraling into despair, you begin to ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? What can I release so I can rise again? This perspective transforms adversity into a tool for elevation. You no longer fear challenges because you trust that renewal is always possible, no matter how hard the fall. The darkness of the night does not cancel the promise of the sunrise. Renewal also impacts your identity. As you live each day with intention, you begin to shed old labels and embrace your true essence. You stop defining yourself by your past mistakes or others' expectations. You begin to live from the inside out, rooted in truth, not performance. And with each passing day, you become more aligned with who you were created to be, resilient, radiant, and ready to bring light into the world. And perhaps the most beautiful aspect of renewal is that it reconnects you with wonder. In a world that often feels cynical and heavy, choosing to see each day as a gift restores your sense of awe. You stop taking life for granted. You begin to see miracles in the mundane. A child's laughter, a blooming flower, the stillness of a quiet morning. Wonder revives the soul. It opens the heart. It invites you to live not just with routine, but with reverence. In this light, life becomes a journey not of endurance, but of discovery. Each day is not just another day. It is a doorway to growth, connection, joy, and purpose. And the more you live in this way, the more your life becomes a testimony to what is possible when you embrace renewal not as a concept, but as a way of being. So no matter what yesterday held, whether it was success or sorrow, clarity or confusion, know this: today is a new beginning. Not because the world outside has changed, but because you have chosen to change within. You have chosen to rise, to re-engage, to recommit. You have chosen to live not as one who is burned out by life, but as one who is lit up from within by purpose and hope. This is the essence of living in the light of renewal daily. It is a sacred yes to life each morning, a courageous decision to begin again. And in that daily yes, you unlock not just the potential of the day, but the full brilliance of who you are becoming. At the heart of every meaningful life lies purpose. Not merely the purpose of surviving or succeeding in a worldly sense, but the deep, unshakable sense that your existence is part of something far greater than yourself. To align with a greater cosmic purpose is to understand that you are not an accident of biology or a product of randomness. You are a vital thread woven into a much larger tapestry, a cosmic story that is unfolding with precision, intelligence, and intention. When you begin to live with this awareness, your life takes on a clarity and strength that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. You begin to see each moment not as isolated, but as connected to something sacred, something eternal. Alignment begins with awareness. To align with a greater cosmic purpose, you must first wake up to the reality that there is a purpose beyond the surface of your daily life. This means asking the deeper questions: why am I here? What am I being called to do? How can I live in a way that contributes not only to my well-being, but to the healing and elevation of others? These questions are not answered in one sitting. They unfold gradually like the rising of the sun, but they must be asked if you are to live a life that resonates with your soul's deepest calling. So many people move through life without ever asking why. They chase goals, accumulate things, build reputations, and yet they feel empty. This emptiness is not a flaw, it is a signal. It is the soul's way of saying, there is more. To align with a cosmic purpose is not to escape the ordinary, but to infuse the ordinary with meaning. It is to realize that your daily choices, words, actions, and thoughts all contribute to a ripple effect that touches lives beyond your immediate awareness. You don't need a global platform to fulfill your purpose. You need only a willing heart. Sometimes the most powerful alignment happens in unseen places. When you choose kindness in a moment of anger, when you forgive someone who hurt you, when you mentor someone who is lost, when you live with integrity even when no one is watching. These small acts are not small in the context of purpose. They are the very foundation of it. Purpose is not something you find outside yourself. It is something you uncover within yourself. It is already there, like a seed, waiting to be nurtured. Often it is hidden beneath layers of fear, self-doubt, and distraction. The modern world is loud and cluttered, filled with messages that pull you in countless directions. To align with your higher purpose, you must quiet the noise and listen to the still, small voice inside you. This voice may not shout, but it speaks with clarity. It speaks in moments of stillness, in the stirrings of your heart, in the longings you cannot ignore. And when you listen, truly listen, you begin to discover a path that is uniquely yours. Alignment requires courage. Often, the path of purpose is not the easiest road. It may ask you to walk away from comfort, to say no to what is popular, to stand alone in truth. But there is a sacred power in choosing authenticity over approval. You may not always be understood, but you will be at peace. And that peace is the unmistakable sign that you are on the right path. You begin to notice that doors open not by force but by flow. Synchronicities increase. Your inner world becomes your guide, and life begins to support you in ways you could not have orchestrated. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. To align with a cosmic purpose also means to understand that your life is interconnected with others. Your story is not just about you. It is part of a collective story. Every gift you've been given, your talents, your personality, your experiences, has been entrusted to you not only for your benefit, but for the upliftment of others. You are not a reservoir meant to hold purpose. You are a channel meant to pour it out, and the more you give of your true self, the more life flows back to you in return. This is the paradox of purpose. The more you serve others, the more fulfilled you become. Real alignment is not self-centered, it is soul-centered. It seeks not just personal gain but collective good. Living with a sense of cosmic alignment also transforms how you deal with challenges. When you know you are part of something greater, setbacks no longer define you, they refine you. Pain becomes a teacher. Delay becomes preparation. Loss becomes space for something deeper to grow. You stop seeing life through the lens of random suffering and begin to see the hidden purpose in every twist and turn. You realize that even the seasons of waiting and wilderness are not wasted. They are shaping you, stretching you, preparing you. And with this perspective, you become resilient, not because life is easy, but because your roots are deep. There is also a rhythm to alignment. Just as the cosmos moves with order and balance, so too must we learn to live in harmony with divine timing. This means resisting the urge to rush, to compare, to force outcomes. Purpose unfolds in seasons. There is a time to sow and a time to reap, a time to act and a time to rest. When you are aligned, you trust this rhythm. You stop striving and start abiding. You stop competing and start cooperating with others, with life, and with the greater intelligence that guides it all. This brings a calm confidence, a quiet assurance that you are exactly where you need to be, even if the full picture has not yet been revealed. Alignment also influences your vision. When you live with purpose, you stop living for short-term gratification and start living for long-term impact. You begin to ask, what legacy am I building? What will I leave behind? How can I contribute to a better world? This shift in vision moves you from consumption to creation, from self-preservation to self-expression. You begin to build with intention, to speak with clarity, to act with conviction. And your life over time becomes a beacon, not of perfection, but of presence. A life that points others not just to what you've achieved, but to what is possible when one lives with purpose. Perhaps the most profound part of aligning with a cosmic purpose is the joy it brings. Not the fleeting joy of achievement, but the deep, sustaining joy that comes from knowing you are exactly who you were created to be, doing what you were meant to do, in the place you were meant to be. This joy is not circumstantial, it is foundational. It is the kind of joy that remains even in difficulty, that shines even in darkness, that anchors even in the storm. It is the joy of alignment. It is the joy of living a life that matters. So if you feel lost, stagnant, or unsure of your place in the world, know this: your purpose is not gone. It may simply be buried. Begin again, reflect, reconnect, realign. Strip away the noise, the pressure, the expectations that have clouded your clarity. Return to the truth that you were made for more than survival. You were made to shine, to serve, to elevate, to awaken. The cosmos is not indifferent to your existence. It is waiting for you to step into the unique frequency of your destiny. Each day is an invitation. Each moment is a choice. Will you live by default, or will you live by design? Will you drift, or will you align? The universe is not against you. It is not silent. It is speaking through the deep currents of your heart, urging you to rise, to walk in the fullness of who you are, and to live with a purpose that transcends time and space. You are not small. You are not forgotten. You are a vital piece of a vast, majestic, unfolding story. And when you align with that story, when you live in harmony with that purpose, everything changes. You no longer wonder if your life matters. You know it does, because you are living proof of what it means to be fully awake, fully alive, and fully aligned.